Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome. Iniquity sleep here. Imagine walking down a desolate, fog-drenched stretch of Highway 1 near Santa Cruz, California, in the early 1970s. You've been waiting for a ride for what feels like hours. Finally, a massive pickup truck pulls over to the shoulder. The driver is a gentle giant, a towering, almost 7-foot-tall man who greets you with a warm, disarming smile. He seems like the safest person in the world, but that smile is a mask, and you just step directly into the lair of one of history's most calculated monsters. Welcome back, everybody. Tonight, we're going to be opening a very dark chapter in the annals of true crime to examine the chilling case of Edmund Emil Kemper III, the infamous co-ed killer. To understand the monster, you have to look at the genesis of his twisted psyche. From the very beginning, Edmund Kemper was built different. Literally. By the time he was a teenager, he stood a terrifying 6'9" tall and weighed nearly 300 pounds. Born in my hometown of Burbank, California, his early years were plagued by a turbulent household. His mother, Clarnell, was deeply troubled and controlling alcoholic. She subjected her son to psychological torture, forcing the towering teenager to sleep in the cramped, dark basement. Clarnell would relentlessly berate him, planting seeds of paranoia and isolating him from the outside world. As a coping mechanism, young Ed retreated inwards, harboring increasingly macabre and violent fantasies. At just 15 years old, those dark imaginings materialized. After a vicious argument with his mother, Ed fled to his grandparents' home in North Fork. In 1964, he shot and killed his grandmother before turning the weapon onto his grandfather. In a bizarre and almost unbelievable moment, he immediately called the police and calmly waited for them to arrive. Kemper was subsequently diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic and locked away at the Atascadero State Hospital for the criminally insane. But here's where the story takes a dark, calculated turn. Edmund Kemper wasn't just a monster. He had a staggering genius-level IQ of 145. During his time at the institution, he befriended the psychiatrists which took tests on him and meticulously studied the system. He learned exactly what they wanted to hear. He convinced the doctors that he had been entirely rehabilitated, and at 21, the gentle giant was paroled and released back into society. But the beast had not been tamed. It had only been fine-tuned. Shortly after his release, he moved back in with the one person he hated the most in this world, his mother. He harbored a burning desire to end her life, and he needed to test his resolve first. He began prowling the rural roads among Santa Cruz in his Ford Galaxy, targeting unsuspecting female hitchhikers, mostly young, beautiful college-age co-eds. His towering and friendly but articulate demeanor would lure in these girls into his truck. Once inside, the trap would snap shut. He would drive them to secluded pitch-black areas, overpower them, and take their lives. He would then transport their bodies back to his quiet apartment, where he engaged in unimaginable acts of depravity. He decapitated his victims, keeping their severed heads as grim trophies. Terrifyingly, Ed would later confess that he sometimes engaged with conversations with his headless victims, treating them like macabre confidants. Even more disturbing, Kemper actively befriended local law enforcement. He spent nights drinking with cops at a local tavern called the Essentra Club, chatting about his victims while the very same officers were desperately searching for them. He outsmarted the authorities by hiding in plain sight. By the spring of 1973, the pent-up rage he had been harboring all these years finally broke its leash. He crept into his mother's bedroom while she slept and murdered her with a pickhammer. After decapitating her, he flew into a fit of psychotic rage, throwing her vocal cords into the garbage disposal and using her head as a dartboard. Then, in another bizarre twist reminiscent of his first crimes, the game was over. After murdering his mother and one of her closest friends, he simply grew bored of the killing spree. He drove across state lines to Colorado and placed a collect call to the Santa Cruz police, confessing in graphic detail to 8 murders. The police didn't believe him at first, dismissing this as some sort of a sick prank. It was only then that he described exact, unreleased details of the crimes to the authorities. That's when they realized the truth. When authorities finally arrested him, the smiling giant who helped build the early framework for the FBI's criminal profiling system surrendered without a fight. Today, Edmund Kemper sits behind steel bars in the California Medical Facility, a prisoner for the rest of his natural days. But his legacy of terror continues to haunt the dark corners of the internet. The next time you are driving down a dark highway and see someone on the side of the road, remember the story of Edmund Kemper. Remember that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look just like you. Thank you so much for exploring the shadows with me tonight. If you made it this far, drop a highway in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more terrifying true crime histories. Until next time, stay safe in the dark.